Once a linebacker, always a linebacker. Houston Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans takes up for Azeez Al-Shaair.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Battle Red Nation? Thank you for making us your first listen and for being an everyday on the show, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Brian Big Sarge, Bearfield Credential Media member for the Houston Texans, and alongside of me is John, some sports guy, Hickman, on today's show, and I know you all cannot wait. DeMeco talks Azeez. We stand behind Azeez. You know, year 2 evaluation of CJ from Coach Ryans should be interesting, and we live and die with the turnovers, and we're talking about the Houston Texans defense. First, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. John, some sports guy Hickman.
Talk to me.
We got to jump right into this thing, man. Listen.
Yeah.
Once a linebacker, always a linebacker. John, I would love for you to be able to talk about the comments made by head coach DeMeco Ryans. But before you do, let's hear DeMeco Ryans say what he had to say from his own mouth.
You know, with the entire Azeez, situation, we stand behind Azeez and everything, that came from that. Of course, he unfortunately hit on the quarterback, but it's also it's twofold, right? I mean, a lot of the quarterbacks in this day and age, they try to take advantage of the rule where they slide late and they try to get an extra yard. And now you're a defender, a lot of onus is on the defender, right? Whether it's on the sideline or where it's on the quarterback, you don't know what a guy is thinking. You don't know if a guy's staying up and he's continuing to run. You don't know. And then you get a late slide and you hit the guy. Unfortunate that Trevor got hurt. Hope Trevor is okay, but it's also, if we're sliding, we have to get down. If we're getting out of bounds, we get out of bounds. And that rule is there to protect the quarterbacks. And we want our quarterbacks to be safe in the league. So we just have to be safe. And we're sliding, make sure we're keeping our heads down. So, and the entire thing is, Azeez hits the guy, but their sideline overreacts. And it turns into a melee. It wasn't our guys. It's their team overreacted, pushed our guy, dragging our guy to the sideline. So that's uncalled for on that side. We have to be better on the sidelines as well with both teams.
John, not only is Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans still built like a linebacker, but he still thinks like a linebacker. He is a player's coach who could still probably play a couple of snaps, and we've talked about that before. But John, just listen to what he had to say about Azeez. Do you feel like what he said hurt or helped Azeez's case as far as once the NFL starts to look at and review the tape?
100% thinks it's twofold. First and foremost, Azeez did get suspended by the NFL. I also believe he was fined $100,000 for the hit on Trevor Lawrence. He went to social media, took to social media to apologize, said, listen, it's not dirty. That's just how it happened. Trevor Lawrence also took to social media. It was a social media day for the Texans Twitter family. But I think it's twofold. It definitely helps Azeez in the locker room. I think it helps DeMeco Ryans in the locker room, right? For those players to hear, okay, our coach, no matter how bad we played on Sunday on both sides of the ball, no matter how many unnecessary big plays we gave up, our coach has our back. And I love the fact that he pointed out, listen, look at the aftermath and look at everything that went on. Jacksonville got to take some type of accountability for that, though. I have no problem with it. That's their quarterback who just got paid in the offseason. He's been beat up enough. You have his back. But I do think that's the positive side of it. That's the side where I'm like, okay, that helps Azeez. It hurts him a little bit with the NFL. It hurts him a little bit with the league office. It hurts him a little bit in terms of how he's viewed, and I think it's going to hurt the Houston Texans just a little bit for media and fans outside of Houston, because now the mindset could be, oh, this is who they are. They are dirty. They are, and they in Houston is one of the most penalized teams in the NFL. They are undisciplined over there, and their coach is okay with it. So I think it does good and bad. You pick whichever way you want to roll with and believe and go with. But I'm okay with hearing the coach say, "Listen, man, we stand behind our player. He's a player that I saw people say he should be suspended for multiple games and he should be out of the league." And I'm thinking to myself, man, he just committed a football act. It ain't like he's did some of these other things that we've seen other players do outside of the game. So I liked hearing him come out and say, man, listen, Azeez is okay with us. We got his back. And also be fair about the situation altogether and look at some of the other chaos that was created. I'm cool.
John, listen, there aren't a lot of players on the Houston Texans team that are actually from Houston. I mean, you have Jerry Hughes, you got Steven Sims, you have Danielle Hunter, Kenyon Green, Jalen Petrie. You only got a couple of people that's on the team from the city of Houston. And, DeMeco Ryans is from Bessemer, Alabama, but he was drafted by the Houston Texans. He went after his playing days were over. He went to coach and he came back, and now he's the head coach of the Houston Texans. John, I preface all that to say, hey, H-Town versus everybody. H-Town versus everybody, John. I liked what head coach DeMeco Ryans said on Monday. I like the fact that he stood up for his quarterback. And listen, I know that Azeez may get suspended for some of his past transgressions. I know that, with the dust up that he had with the little kerfuffle of the skirmish that he had in the Chicago game. I know with the hit on Tony Pollard in the Tennessee games, they're going to look at it and they're going to say, all right, Azeez, at some point we got to stop finding you and we have to suspend you. Okay, cool, I got that. But what DeMeco Ryans said in that video, John, and what he is doing for the rest of the league, I know that the Jacksonville Jaguars are probably upset, but when they go back and they listen to exactly what he said, he's also taking up for the defenders on the Jags. He's taking up for the defenders on the Colts. He's taking up for the defenders on the 49ers. He's taking up the Cowboys. Like all defenders, John, he's taking up for them because he's saying, listen, I get it. You're trying to protect the quarterback, but by the same token, you also have to realize that some of these players are quarterbacks, are taking advantage of the rule. And by them taking advantage of the rule, they're causing the defender to ease up, right? If Azeez doesn't make that hit, cheap shot, dirty, whatever you want to call it. I've read the YouTube comments. Y'all call me everything but the son of God. I get that part. If you go back and you look, though, if Azeez doesn't hit him, if Azeez does not hit Trevor Lawrence, he gets the first down. Trevor Lawrence running, that's why he slid late, because he knew that if he went just a couple of more yards, a yard or two, he had the first down. It's Azeez's job to stop that. So what DeMeco is saying is, hey, I get it. I got it. I understand. This league is here to protect the quarterback because the quarterback is what pushes the ratings. The quarterback is what gets us the ad dollars. The quarterback is what gets us the TV revenue. I understand all of that. But at some point, you also got to think about the defender. And you also got to take into account who you're talking about. Azeez Al-Shaair is not a bad football player. He's not a bad guy. You got your finger up like you're in church, John. Go ahead.
No, so what you're saying is, so it's really threefold. He helped himself in the locker room. You can look at it that point of view. And of course, league-wide with the league office, it may be a bad look in terms of everything else. And maybe the fan base is looking at Houston with the penalties and say they're undisciplined. But you're saying that, okay, this is also a coach that's advocating for defensive players league-wide as well. Is that
and not just – yeah, exactly. And not just, like I said, not just his own player, but they have a personal relationship as well. Like they're friends off the field. That doesn't affect the coach-player relationship at all. If anything, they talk to each other in a different manner and a tone that most coaches and players don't talk. And I'm not talking about in a derogatory tone, but they speak the same language because they've been around each other for so long. So yes, is he standing up for Azeez? Yes, he is. But he's also standing up for the rest of the defenders who have to go through things like that, John. So I like it. I like what he said. I like that he stood behind his player, and he knows that his player is going to get a hefty fine. He knows his player is going to get a suspension. But what DeMeco Ryans did was tell the rest of the world, hey, listen, you can talk about him all you want. He's still our player. We still love him in his locker room, and we stand by all of his actions.
Now, I do think later in the week, maybe tomorrow, we definitely need to look at, okay, how can Houston survive a crucial week going up against Miami or however long he's out without Azeez, no Jalen Petrie, and the status of Christian Harris still up in the air.
Yeah, John.
That's a lot for a defense to take on in terms of not having those top players out there.
Yeah, and I think that with some of the way that the players have stepped in, I think that they can also, play without Azeez for one game. Now, if it becomes multiple games, that's where it gets a little bit tricky because you are playing that gauntlet of your schedule. But the good thing, John, is on the defensive side of the ball, you got a team who loves to play takeaway. Give me that. That's mine. Spunkalele. Some people don't even know what that means. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about how the Houston Texans defense has stepped it up this year and said, give me that.
Texan fans, if you're looking to take your game day experience to the next level, check out Prize Picks. Even in a bye week, it's still the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. You just pick more or less on your favorite player stat projections. You sit back and watch the winnings roll in with all of the action that's going on each and every time those players take the field. Sign up today and get $50 instantly after you play $5 with code Locked On NFL. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to a big payout like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select players, projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Hey, welcome back to the Locked On Texans podcast. John.
Yes, sir.
Whew, listen, let me tell you something. The one thing that I do not like is to have something taken away from me. I don't take it away from me. You can ask me for it. If you ask me for it, I may give it to you, but don't take it away from me. And I can imagine that's how the rest of these teams that has had to play against the Houston Texans defense has felt. John, the Houston Texans are tied for second in turnovers with 24. They got 16 interceptions, which tied them for second in the league, and 8 fumbles, which ties them for eighth in the league. John, what is it about this Houston Texans defense that just gives them that attitude that, yeah, that's mine, when the ball is in the air or I'm going to take it and force a fumble? What is it about this Houston Texans defense that just, allows them to get so many takeaways?
I think it's how they're being coached. I think it's how they're being coached. You also got to look at the fact that for the majority, for the most part of this year, that front four has caused a lot of issues for opposing quarterbacks. And, you look at the 5 interceptions against Detroit, Danielle Hunter was right on Jared Goff's butt. The inside guys were making it difficult for him to see things. And so when you have a front four that is just flat out that good, probably the best front four in Texans history, take your feelings out of it. I think inside and out altogether, especially with the guys that they got rotating in, this is probably their best unit. They create a lot of difficult situations for opposing offensive linemen, and they also create a lot of situations that's just difficult for quarterbacks. And quarterbacks are getting hit a lot with this front four. And with those guys getting after the quarterback as consistently as they have all year, some of those passes are just a little bit too high. It is going over receiver's head. Now you got your safety right there. Some of them too behind them. Now you got your cornerback and Derek Stingley may be able to go out there and read it and take the ball away. You may get your linebackers underneath that can make a play on it, or Jalen Petrie that can make a play on it. So I think the front four is the catalyst that drives this team defensively. And the back seven of that defense, hey, man, I think that they are just always in great position to make a play on the ball.
Yes, they are.
And with being tied for 24 takeovers, and you gave the numbers on the fumbles and interceptions and the the turnover differential, this is a defense that has time and time again given their offense every opportunity to be better.
Yeah.
Better field position, turnovers and good on the plus side of the field, stopping the opposing offense from making it a close game, for getting to those one-score ranges so we can have an opportunity to beat Detroit, to beat New York, to beat Tennessee. They give them the opportunity. Green Bay. So, the defense has been the driving force. The D-line has been the catalyst, but the amount of takeaways that they've been able to cause has really helped drive this team.
Yeah, John, and one thing that I love about what DeMeco Ryans has installed into this Houston Texans defense is the fact that they swarm to the ball. They swarm to the ball. And when you have that swarm mentality, when you have that, hey, first win your one-on-ones and then make sure you're wherever the ball is going to be. And so when you look at when they make an interception, you got a Derek Stingley Jr. who can bait a quarterback like a Trevor Lawrence, a number one pick, a number one overall pick in the NFL, into throwing a pass where it looks like the wide receiver is wide open until Derek Stingley turns on that recovery speed. The way that Derek Stingley Jr. can shut down an entire side of the field. And then you have his twin, his twin on the other side in rookie Kamari Lassiter, who has who has 3 interceptions, and that's good for a rookie to come in and play that way. He's also looking to become, a ball hawk. And then you got Kalen Bullock on the backside, who leads all Texans defenders with 4 interceptions. John, this is a team that has the mentality of, hey, look, we're going to go get it. And if we can't stop you, just by playing, we're going to stop you and stop any drive by taking the ball away from you. And that's exactly what they've been doing, John. And that's the one thing that I love. And if we keeping it okay, John, on a Locked On Texas podcast, we keep it 100 here, right? A lot of people don't understand what that means. That means that we're keeping it honest. If we have to be honest, John, let's be honest. Honest, John. Okay?
Let's do it.
John, when you look at the Houston Texans defense and what they've had to do to keep the offense in the game, they've had to play above and beyond this year.
That's my point. And Sarge, I think, and we're not even supposed to be talking about the offense, but I think that's why this team has been so frustrating to watch. And I think you and I can both attest to, we saw the 4-12 Deshaun Watson year. His last year, he suited up for the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
And we saw a defense that just consistently let that team down.
Oh.
And I think that was somewhat of a theme of the Bill O'Brien era. Yeah. Once JJ started to break down, got a little older, and he was not able to retain players, we saw that team constantly defensively just break down a lot. Yeah. And so now, years later, we're looking at a franchise that legit has a top 5 defense in the NFL in almost every category. They're top 5 and top 10, but yet the offense can't help us out. That's why it's been so difficult and depressing at times to watch. And they are living and dying with their turnovers, and I think the defense overall. But that's how great both Will and Daniil has been this year for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, John.
That's how great Tim Settle has been this year for the Houston Texans.
Yes, and Danico Autry, once he came back, you even
Autry, Foley,
Tommy. There's been a lot of players that has benefited also, John. The players on the defense side of the ball, yes, they're taking the ball away, but a lot of them are benefiting by the fact that Derek and Kamari are playing the way that they are, also the way that Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter is playing. And John, a lot of it comes from a lot of those turnovers also are generated because, like you said, that front 4, that's a lot of pressure, which is, like I said, we talked about this on Monday's show. That's the one thing that I was so confused about in the Jacksonville game, is that I wanted to see more pressure, but I understood because you're playing against a quarterback that you really don't have a lot of field for. So what I felt like DeMeco did was play it safe. And that's why Mac Jones looked so efficient on Sunday because I felt like DeMeco was playing it safe. But if they had to play that game all over again and prepare for Mac Jones, I think that you would see a different play, a different defensive play calling from Matt Burke and DeMeco Ryans, and you would see more pressure. You would see more turnovers. You would see more sacks. And so that's what I love about this team. And John, you got to look at it like this as well. There's been a lot of times that this offense has went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Turnovers. Yeah. We've seen turnovers from CJ. They constantly put this defense back on the field. And you're talking about a team, you're talking about players, John, that have been practicing since early July, middle July. They had to start the season early because they did have to play in that Hall of Fame preseason game. They started OTAs early. They started training camp early. And now that was July. Almost 6 months later, they're just now getting a break. So to see what they've done defensively,
that's a good point. Late bye week.
To see what they've been able to do to keep that type of energy, which is why DeMeco Ryans told them pregame, hey, empty the tank. We'll get it back. Empty the tank and we'll get it all back after the bye week. Speaking of after the bye week, John.
Talk to me. What we got?
Will we see quarterback CJ Stroud take that next level to lead this team into the playoffs and the Houston Texans make a deep playoff run?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that when we come back. Hey, Texan fans, want to make sure every play matters this season? Well, FanDuel is here to make sure you're in the game all season long. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, has you covered with all the action you need right at your fingertips. Whether you're backing the Houston Texans to pull off a big win or you got your eye on player props for your favorite stars, FanDuel makes every snap exciting. And right now, new customers get an incredible offer. Bet $5, win $5 on your first bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right, $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. It's easy, it's fun, and with FanDuel's safe and secure platforms, you can focus on what matters, the thrill of the game. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. Welcome back, Battle Red Nation. Before we close out today's show, quick couple things, man. We want to let you guys know that if this is your first time watching, please subscribe to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, thank you for making us the Locked On Texans podcast your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, go find Locked On NFL with 2 new shows every day. First, the Madman, Tyler Rowland, kicks off your morning with the double shot of NFL Espresso, and then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. This is a perfect opportunity for us to talk about what the year 2 evaluation of CJ Stroud from Coach DeMeco Ryans has looked like from Coach Ryans. Listen to what he had to say.
How would you evaluate CJ and the season he's having and what he's done for your team in his second year?
Yeah, really impressed with CJ and just his operation and the way he led us on yesterday. A lot of routes and things that weren't there, but for him to progress and get to the check down on certain routes, just making really great decisions with the ball. His connection with Nico has been very impressive. And then just yesterday, just him on third down, getting the ball to Dalton, and Dalton converting for a first down, just making those plays we talk about, playing on time, playing on schedule, and taking what the defense gives us. Just seeing him operate in that manner, that fashion even more, just shows, how our offense can be more efficient when we're operating that way. And it all starts at the top with CJ. And when he's leading, he's playing the way that he's playing, like our entire team feeds off of him. So I'm excited for his second year. I think he's shown a ton of growth. He's in a really great spot for us, physically, mentally, really love where he is. And I'm excited to see how he comes back after the break.
Welcome back, Locked On listeners. Sarge, you know what I like about that the most?
What's that?
It's really something that I think when you take a look at maybe a Jared Goff or some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL that's been around for a long time, they are not afraid to take what the defense is giving them. And I do think that's an area of CJ Stroud's game that we've seen an up and down bumpy road with him this season.
Yeah.
But when we do see him say, you know what, I'm just going to dump it off over here. I'm not going to force a downfield throw, especially because I don't have Nico. I'm down Stephon Diggs. My offensive line isn't giving me the amount of time. And he's a quarterback that I like to say time and time again, he wants the deep shot. I mean, he's fiending for it. He wants to take those shots down the field. He wants those explosive plays, and I think that's been lacking. But to see him have those moments where he's taking those checkdowns, he's taking what the defense gave him, which is what DeMeco Ryans said as well. I think that is what we need to continue to see from him in terms of growth, because DeMeco Ryans said, listen, just seeing him operate in that manner, in that fashion, even more just shows how our offense can be more efficient when we are operating in that way. So he knows, hey, my quarterback is just taking what the defense is giving him. We can make turn. We may want to get 20 yards down the field, but we can pick up that 5. Oh, you know what we can do? Now, instead of taking a sack in the 2nd and 13, now we're looking at 2nd and 5. Now we're looking at 2nd and 4. In the case of Sunday, now we're looking at Dalton Schultz wide open. He getting a touchdown for the first time in a very long time. Now we're looking at that, and I think he understands that for CJ to take the next step for our offense, the big play may not always be there, especially with the league going to a lot of too high safety looks. Just take what the defense is giving you and let's sustain these drives.
Yeah.
Let's give our defense a break.
Yeah, John, I don't know if you know this about me or not. I mean, you know a lot of things about me as far as, who I am. You've met my wife. We've talked. Me, you, and Coco have, hung out together. I've gotten a chance to meet the baby. I've met your lovely wife, John. But I don't know if you know this about me or not. I'm a dominologist. You know what a dominologist is, John? That's somebody who really knows how to play dominoes. Like, I'm really good at dominoes, right? And for our listeners out there, I know that some of you all like to play dominoes, but playing dominoes on your phone, playing dominoes on Yahoo is different than playing dominoes against Big Sarge in person. Now, John, with that being said, because you want to know where I'm going with this, you also want to talk trash to me because you think that you can play dominoes. Here's where I'm going with that, John. When you look at CJ Stroud, right? Sometimes 15, 20, 25 ain't there. You know what you got to take? Hey, take the 5.
Yeah, take the 5.
Don't
be like Martin. Remember Martin? I ain't paying the 5.
Right.
Don't be like that. Take the 5. You're
right.
Gonna be out in the cold too long. You're gonna keep warming up at every 5 you get.
Exactly. So when you're playing dominoes, you got to take the 5 because you're using the 5 to set up to get the 10 points. You're using the 5 to set up to get the 20. So you put the 5s in place, keep taking the 5s, and then when they start trying to play defense for you to stop you from scoring, now all of a sudden they've left something else open and now you score big. So with that being said, the reason why I use that analogy is that CJ is learning. The good thing that I like, he's learning how to take what the defense is giving, take the 5, take the 5, take the 5. Oh, there's Christmas and a day, which is 30 points. There's Dalton Schultz right there, wide open. Touchdown. Oh, there's Nico going across the middle for 17 to 20 yards. Oh, here we go. Tank. He didn't catch the ball, but that was open. And if you keep taking what the defense gives you, that underneath stuff, eventually you're going to shift the defense. CJ, especially, we want to look at the great season that he had on last year, and that's what we're comparing him to. We're comparing him to his rookie season, but there is going to be a learning curve, just like you said, John. There is going to be a learning curve. So, you can't always be Aaron Rodgers. Sometimes you got to be Sam Darnold. You can't always be Joe Burrow. Sometimes you got to be Kirk Cousins, and take what the defense gives you. And I like what Cam Newton, former NFL quarterback, who has a great podcast, by the way, anyway. But I like what he said about being a game manager. And what I think CJ is learning to do is to be, I know he said that I'm a game changer, not a game manager, But CJ, you also have to learn to be a game manager in order to be a game changer. And John, you'll understand this, and I'll hush, and we'll close out the service on this. John, the New England Patriots, for as great as Tom Brady was as a game changer, he was amazing at being a game manager and say, hey, here you go, Edelman. You take that. Here you go. Drop that off. Here you go. Drop that off. Oh, you want to come here? I got Randy Moss. So I got Deion Branch.
Deion Branch for a long time.
So that's all I'm saying, John. Just, yes, I know you're a game changer, but I'm glad that CJ's learning to be a game manager as well.
You put it beautifully, because certain times in the game you need to manage the game.
Yes.
And I think especially considering when you may not have the full support and help and may not be in the best situation from the help you need from the sidelines.
Yeah.
So
yes,
I think one of the biggest issues that we kind of continue to overlook, not here on this show because we've talked about it a couple of times, but the amount of Ella Bella and Stellas that the Houston Texans, going back to Domino's, that the Houston
that's
Texans,
15, y'all. That's 15.
Yeah, that's 15, y'all. But the amount of 50, the explosive plays from the
Yes.
passing standpoint that this team tries to get, and a lot of times we sit back and we say, the offensive line isn't giving you that time right now to hit those big shots.
Take the 5.
And so take the 5. The route concepts may be a little bit too long. So dump it off in the flats. Dump it off to Dalton Schultz or Cade Stover. Just dump it off. And I think the last couple of games, though we haven't necessarily saw the 5-touchdown game from CJ Stroud, but what we have been able to see is just, here you go.
Yeah.
And his throws downfield isn't as pinpoint as we like them to be. Nico Collins and his size makes up for a lot of that, but some of those downfield throws, maybe Tank, doesn't look the same as last year. And you know what? That's okay. I got somebody underneath. And it's better to, like DeMeco Ryans said, it's better to show how efficient our offense can look. Let's stay on the field because we face 3rd and long almost more than any other team in the NFL. Let's change that by just saying, man, here you go, Cade Stover. Here's a quick 5 and out. Here you go, Dalton Schultz. We're going to get you more involved. Here you go, Tank. We're going to get you right in the mesh, running right across the linebacker's face. Let's do things like that. Joe Mixon underneath.
That screen should have went for a lot more yesterday on Sunday.
Yeah, but you
should have went a lot more.
The Houston Texans have had problems with blocking and just running back screens altogether, but it's not like the opportunities are not there.
But that's what you take. That's what I mean take that.
Yes. And you know what? Who's also, maybe we're seeing a better job of that, especially with Nico Collins coming back, Bobby Sloyd.
Yeah.
Let's just get it out the ball. Let's get our hands out the ball. Thank y'all for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Please subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. And wherever you listen to your podcast, follow me on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it, at John_Hickman12.
And you can follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Star Sports with a Z at the end.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.